Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I've been on a little bit of a hiatus, um, catching up with family stuff and to-do list and everything else. I'm also waiting for my IFTA stickers to show up. Not really sure what's going on with that, but we haven't got them yet. And well, the beginning of this month is when they start enforcing it, so I didn't want trouble. Um, so I'm waiting for them. I've been on the phone with them a couple times in the last week or so. So we're changing the format a little bit on how we're doing the videos. The videos will start with a quick commentary for me to kind of tell you guys what we're doing, what we're covering, and then that'll be followed by the load board, where we kind of go through the load board and show you guys the markets you want to look at. And then at the end, there's a commentary where I'm answering the questions that are in the comments. And so if you've commented something, if you're kind of asking me questions, if you have a curiosity about something, that'll be at the very end. Um, Otherwise, if we try to jumble everything, um, the videos can get really, really long. And so this way, if you kind of know where what you want is, you can kind of, following this is going to be the load board, and at the very end is going to be the commentary. So if you have no interest in the commentary, or you haven't, um, you haven't posed any questions or anything, you kind of know you don't need to go there. But if you did pose a question and you've already looked at the load board and the load board isn't of interest because it's not covering a city, you might still go to the end of the video and check out where I'm answering some questions. So anyways, today we're going to cover Louisville, Kentucky, Middletown, Delaware, Seattle, Washington, Fall River, Massachusetts, Kansas City, Nashville, Tennessee, and Denver, Colorado. Anyways, as always, thanks for watching. All right, guys. So in no particular order, we're going to get right to it. We're starting with Kansas City, and this is showing everything that's within 100-mile radius of Kansas City. I'm going to bring it up again. When you guys ask for a specific city, like I live in a suburb of Los Angeles, and if I want to look at my suburb, yes, we can do it that way. The problem is, if I name, for example, Camarillo, most people aren't going to know what that city is or where it is or what it is. And so it's easier if we stick with the major metropolitan areas. It's a 100-mile radius. So if the city you're in is within that radius, it pretty much covers your market. Most people aren't going to deadhead over 100 miles. But, if I name Pacoima, someone in, Seattle has no idea what Pacoima is. And so I tend to stick with the major cities. Even like when I say LA, a lot of times I do punch in LA, but the reality is, for Amazon, the epicenter of Southern California truly is Ontario. Ontario, Mira Loma, Riverside, Paris. That's where 90% of the Amazon locations are. Um, Within 100 miles north or south, they do have like they have a location in Bakersfield, they have one in Valencia, they have one in Camarillo, and they have a couple down in Orange County. But all of those combined don't add up to how many facilities Amazon has on one block in Ontario. Literally, they own the entire block. I think it's like ONT 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I believe they're all on the same street. And the sad thing is, you once you're in one, you you wish you could just drive from one to the next and save yourself headache and time. Nope, got to go through the gate, back out, sit in line again. Anyways, so when you guys ask for some cities, try and pick the major metropolitan area that's closest to you. Um, and also, look for it in the videos, because that's kind of how we do it. I'm gonna try and start putting in the description the cities that we're covering to make it easier for you guys to backtrack and look through some of this stuff. Like I said, my daughter and I kind of we looked at the channel from an outsider's perspective, Like if we wanted to use it as from an archive perspective or a library, there's no rhyme or reason to it. And so we're trying to give it a little order. It may take us a little time, and some things we try may work and some may not. My daughter put together a different intro, and after we messed with it a little bit, she did it in the portrait mode, and the application for Amazon doesn't work well that way. And so the YouTube comments also don't work well that way. So most of the videos are going to be formatted like this, where it's a tall, thin um, format, if you want to call it that. Yes, we could do the recording from a computer. The problem is when I'm on the road, I'm using my phone, and it's going to go back to this format. So we're going to try and improve it this way as much as we can until we figure out a good and clean way to flip-flop everything. But bear with us, and we'll continue to help you guys with these markets. Anyways, so there's 82 results for Kansas. Your very first one is it's a trailer required, one way, 1,100 miles for it's 1,100 miles at $211 per mile. The next one is also 1,100 miles for $228 per mile. Also a trailer required. There's 1,200 miles trailer required for $254 per mile. Here's 1,543 miles at $204 per mile. Also a trailer required. That one's coming to LGB 8 in Southern California. There's 1,500 miles at $2 a mile, also coming to LGB. That's a trailer required. There's 1,545 miles coming to Fontana. That's $2 a mile, 201. This is a tour, trailer provided. This would be doing almost 6,000 miles at $1.60 a mile for $94.89. The next one is also a tour, power only, 1,300 miles at $1.79 per mile. The next one is another power only tour, 5,800 miles at $1.30 per mile. The next one is a 4,200 mile power only tour at $1.66 per mile. There's 3,700 miles power only tour at $1.80 per mile. The next one is 1,545 miles. This one is a trailer required one way to Fontana. The next one is 1,545 miles also to Fontana for $1.70 a mile. There's another one, same thing. There's a load to Rialto, 1,543 miles at $1.70 per mile. And there's another one. This one's $1.71. They gave you a penny for some reason. There's a 5,300 mile power only load at $1.29 per mile. I think that's the lowest I've seen in a while. That's really, really cheap. So here's another power only, 44.66 on the miles at $1.47 per mile. This one's going to Joliet. I'm not sure if that's Joliet or Joliet. For 590 miles at $1.79 per mile. All of these rates are really, really cheap. You could probably find something much better on a load board. There's 5,300 miles one way to Rialto at $1.70 per mile. There's 5,691 miles. This is a power only tour at $77.15. That's going to be $1.36 per mile. There's another tour, 4,600 miles, $1.44 per mile. There's another tour, 54 $1.39 on the miles, $1.30 per mile. I'm not sure if people actually take these things that cheap. There's 56.97 miles, another tour power only, $1.36 per mile. There's 3,000 mile power only tour for $1.93 per mile. There's 53.66 power only tour at $1.89 per mile. There's a 3,000 mile power only tour at $1.92 per mile. There's a 4,000 mile power only tour for $1.72. There's a one-way 487 miles for $2.50 a mile. That's a trailer required. There's 469 miles power only. That's trailer required, excuse me. For $1.73 per mile. There's 1173 miles heading to Phoenix at $1.50 per mile, trailer required. There's 1,500 miles, trailer required at $1.50 per mile, heading to California. Here's another power only tour, $1.89 per mile. There's 4,000 miles, power only tour at $1.68 per mile. There's a block, and honestly, it's one of the better paid blocks I've seen in a while. So this is what they would call a solo 2. You'll work a shift, get 10 hours off. They'll probably stop you somewhere, 500 miles away. You'll get a 10-hour break and then come back for $2,036 plus accessorials. That's not bad. So let's just say they add like another $200 for fuel surcharge. Plus, if you run into any place that has any tolls, that prospectively could be, $2,300 for 2 days. That's not too bad. And so there's another one. There's a 3,000 mile tour power only for teams at $1.91 per mile. There's another block for $2,000. Your guys' blocks aren't bad. There's a few more. And there's one that's a little bit cheaper. Could be because it's further out. They start knocking the price down. These blocks go up just like the regular loads do, guys. Don't let anybody tell you they don't. Here's perfect evidence of that. And so everything as it gets closer goes up in price. The power only doesn't go up as much, but your trailer required definitely goes up substantially. In some cases, well in excess of $1 a mile, it'll climb. Anyway, so there's a few more blocks. And we're going to wrap it up here on Saturday. Actually, this is the only box truck load we've seen, so we'll talk about it. There's 185 miles. They say it's going to take 6 hours and 19 minutes, $1.75 per mile. And there's another block, a couple more blocks. You can see they're getting cheaper because they're further out. But I'm looking to see if by chance there's any more box trucks. I know you guys have interest in that. So it looks like between here and Saturday, we only had one box truck. And so that covers Kansas City. Let's jump on Middletown. My apologies. I know you've been asking for this quite a bit. I do think your area has been covered by other boards that I cover surrounding you. But there are quite a few loads there. My insurance is about to renew, so I'm getting calls like every 10 minutes. So you'll have to excuse that, guys. I'm just going to work through them. Literally, I get calls like every half hour. I get a call from a different insurance agency. In my area of the oil field, with so many companies that went under or just shut their doors, the insurance guys, they're bending over backwards, but they're really not. An insurance agent really can't do much on the rate, even though they say they can. The underwriter sets the rate. The agent really can only differ in the service they give you. Anyway, so let's get started on this one. So this is a trailer required 134-mile load at $5.37 per mile, pays $7.21. That's not too bad. It's going into Jersey. There's another one going to Jersey for $1.37. I'm sorry, for 137 miles at $5.36 per mile. There is a tour, 6,300 miles at $1.43. There's another tour, 6,200 miles at $1.40. Another tour, 5,800 miles at $139. 2,400 miles at $199, and that's actually a one-way. That's going to Idaho, 2,400 miles. It is a power only though. And so here's another power only, 194. Actually, this is a trailer required. 409 per mile. This is going to Virginia for $7.97. Your rates are pretty good for trailer required, I think, especially on the shorter stuff. 966 miles for a power only. This is a teams load, 173 per mile. Here's another tour, 44.99 on the miles, 138 per mile. This one is a trailer required, 546 on the miles, pays $2.31 per mile. Here's a power only, 204 on the miles, $3.01 per mile. That's actually well paid for a power only. Here's another power only, 625 on the miles, $2.19 per mile. There's a teams power only tour, 43.37 on the miles, pays $1.40 per mile. There's a power only for 157 per mile. I'm sorry, 157 miles for $2.34 per mile. Here's another power only, 157 miles, $2.34 per mile. There's a 600-mile load. You have to bring your own trailer on this one. Pays $2.17 per mile, heading to Indianapolis. There's another one, duplicate of that. And there's a third one. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, when you see something like this and there's 3 loads, this is one you should focus on, because if you keep an eye on these 3, there's probably people interested in them. And what you do is you wait for the first one to go away, and then that's about the benchmark where it's going to go. So it gives you a little bit of more leeway. If there's only one load you're interested in, you're waiting for it to go up. Now your concern is it goes up and someone snags it before you. Here you've got, 3 loads. So you wait for someone to take the first one, and then you grab the second one. So you're kind of guaranteed a little bit of a bump in pay from here. You're at 217. And so as this one gets closer, if it happens to go up to, let's just say 240, then, you're going to get that 240 because now there's 2 to pick from. Anyways, that's just kind of been my experience when you see multiples going to the same place. So here is a trailer required heading to Utah, 2,100 miles at 176 per mile. That should go up substantially. People don't just run to Utah cheap. It's tough to get out of that market. You typically have weather. You have to chain up. Only a fool would take that at $1 and change. Here is another trailer required, $9.91 on the miles, heading to Florida for $197. If you guys have never been to Florida, you have to get really good money going in, because you're going to probably deadhead the whole way out to Georgia to find something, and Georgia's going to be cheap. Here's $5.75 on the miles, trailer required for $1.99 a mile. There's $5.75 heading to Indiana for $2.22 per mile. There's another trailer required, $1.66 on the miles, $1.56 per mile. There's 168 miles for $2.22 per mile heading to Indiana. And I believe this is going to the same place. Nope, slightly different. So there's $5.63 on the miles for $2.17. That's a trailer required. Here's another trailer required for it's the same thing basically. Here is another trailer required for 194 miles at $3.69. That's a pretty good rate right there. 310 miles on a power only for $1.62. 2,094 miles heading to Utah for $1.55. There's 639 power only heading to Georgia for $1.63. These are in Friday, so between here and then they'll probably go up. 557 miles on a team. Not really sure why they're requesting a team on this, but it's $1.58. There's 310 miles power only heading to Virginia for $1.62. Now, mind you, these are in Friday, so they're going to be a little bit cheaper. There's 624 miles on a power only for $1.71 per mile. There's 657 on the miles. This one is a power only, $1.59 per mile. There's 2,500 miles going to Henderson, Nevada, which is basically Las Vegas, for $1.54 per mile. That's really, really cheap. No other way to put that one. That's really cheap. You're going to burn half of that in fuel. There's a 310 mile power only load at $1.62 per mile. And here's your first block, which your block isn't bad either. Maybe Amazon is getting the picture. People don't want to do these blocks for cheap. And so in any market that you have blocks, understand that there's not going to be a whole lot of power only, because they're moving the power onlys into these blocks. But at $2,000 for a Solo 2, that's going to net you $1,000 a day. So $1,000 for a 13-hour period is not bad. And then on top of that, you're going to get the fuel surcharge and any tolls separate. So if you're looking at doing power only in this market, the block in this particular case is not bad. I would consider them. The upside to the block is you book it, and if they don't have work for you, you still get paid. That's the upside to it. So here we have 194 trailer required for $3.89 per mile. There is a power only 310 miles, $1.62 per mile. Here you can see like the difference between power only and providing your own trailer. So the trailer required load is 194 miles, and it's going to pay out $750. The power only load is 610 miles, and it's going to pay $503. This is part of the reason why I switched away from power only into trailer required. You make way more money, and the added maintenance and cost of renting a trailer for me, a couple loads covers that expense, and then the rest of it is money in your pocket. Plus, it gives me the freedom if I take a power only load. I'm sorry. Well, yeah, if I take a power only load from Amazon into a market that's dry, both for Amazon and for someone else, you're deadheading, because power only is not as prevalent as having your own trailer. So having your own trailer kind of gives you more flexibility. You go into even a quiet market like Phoenix, you'll probably find something leaving. Anyway, moving on. Here's another block. As you can see, the further out the blocks get, they'll start getting cheaper. This one's for Friday. So they're at, 1996, which is still really close to that threshold that I think you should be making of about 1,000 a day. And so there's a bunch of blocks. And so this is why you don't see a whole lot of power only loads, because they're putting them in blocks. Here we're in Saturday, and that's kind of going to be where we wrap up the days. I'm just going to scroll down and see if we happen to see any box truck activity. A lot of blocks. I don't see any box truck. I know a lot of people have the curiosity in them. But yeah, a whole bunch of blocks. Your market is going to be dominated by blocks. And you see these are, in Carlisle, again, that's because it's a 100-mile radius. And that's kind of why I've been saying this market's been covered by other markets because of the radius. Anyway, I hope this is helpful to you. I know I kind of skipped you a couple times. My apologies. There was nothing personal there. So we covered Middletown. Let's see what else is on the list. Seattle. I know I did Seattle recently, but a new subscriber asked, and so let's see how that looks. There's 140 results total. Very first one is a power only for 143 miles. It's actually a tour, so you'll be back to your same starting spot. So it's at $4.13 per mile. My only drawback to that, guys, is it's 11 and a half hours. So it's a whole day, and you're going to make $4.27 for the day. So, granted, it's low on the miles, so you're not going to burn $100 in fuel. I guess you might come close to that with the cost of fuel lately, but so you got to pay a driver from there. Let's just say you pay him 25%, you're paying him over $100, and then, let's just say you put $100 in fuel. So, and $100 I think is a little on the strong side, but it's not going to leave a whole lot per day. So here's a trailer provided, which is what they call power only. 26 miles for $9.31 per mile. There's a 1,100 mile load, power only, heading down to Rialto, and that's $1.90 per mile. There's a 91 mile load, $4.55 per mile. So again, it's $400 for a day's worth of work. There's 37 miles at $6.83 per mile. This one is a power only tour. 87 miles for $3.66 a mile. Again, you're going to eat up a whole day for about $300. There's 40 miles. It's a 12-hour day for $10.35, $4.20 for the day. There's 868 miles. This is a tour. Actually, it's a multi-stop, but it dumps off in Stockton, California. $1.60 per mile. There's 1155 on the miles, 180 per mile. It's a power only to Mira Loma, which is the Inland Empire, basically just south of Los Angeles. There's 1,033 miles at $1.80 per mile, power only to Bakersfield. There is a 4,000 mile tour. It does bring you back to the same place. $1.68 per mile for $6,700. Here you have 731 on the miles, 180 per mile. It's a one-way trailer required to Reno. I will tell you from my experience with RN04 that you will show up and they will tell you that they do not have an appointment available for you for a week or two. I've been there 3 times, and all 3 times they did the same thing. In one case, it was like right before the holidays, and ROC managed to get me to be able to drop that load in Tracy, which, was helpful to me because Tracy was able to unload me the same day and I got home for the holidays. But they're bad there. Be very careful if you book something there. Be ready to sit. So there's 322 on the miles, power only, $1.56 per mile. Here is 67 miles at $4.76 per mile. So for your day, you'll get 320. There's 1,100 miles at $1.68 per mile heading to Vegas on a power only. Here's another power only for 322 miles at $1.56 per mile heading, and it's a round trip tour. My apologies. This one is 852 on the miles. It's heading to Utah. Trailer required, $1.70 per mile. There's 56 miles at $4.33 per mile. This one is a short tour returning to the same place. So for an 8-hour day, you're going to make just under $300. There's a box truck, 229 miles at $1.70 per mile. Remember, you have to double back empty on these. So here's 1154 miles heading to Ontario 6, ONT6 as they call it, $1.50 per mile. There's 1100 miles, let's call it 12, heading to Beaumont, California for $1.50 a mile. That is a power only load. Here's another power only load heading to Southern California at $1.50 a mile. There's 1,100 miles heading to Santa Fe Springs at $1.50 per mile. There's a 1,000-mile trip heading to Bakersfield at $1.50 per mile. There's a 3,000-mile tour. It's a multi-stop, but it's a one-way. It'll dump you off in San Bernardino. Power only. They want teams on this for $1.90 a mile. Here is a 2,000-mile trip. It's a round trip, power only, so you come back to the same place at $1.90 per mile. There's a 2,000-mile trip, same thing. Here is a power only down to Southern California, $1.50 per mile. And so that seems to be the common place, guys. You're at $1.50 on average. Here's another box truck. This one is 164 miles for $1.93 per mile. Here's another box truck, 157 miles for $1.94 per mile. And these are pretty much all the same. You're in that $1.40 to $1.50 range. So I think we're going to wrap up this market because there's nothing particularly exciting, I don't think. I hope no one's thinking, hey, yeah, I'm going to go out and buy a truck to get these rates, because there's nothing good about these rates. Especially in this market where you have so many hills to contend with. You guys consume a lot of fuel over there. I don't know what your fuel cost is. I'm curious. And so we'll move on to the next one. Someone asked for Massachusetts. I picked Fall River because I had family there, but they didn't specify. All right, Fall River, Massachusetts. Sorry for the phone call interruption there, but it is what it is. So here we have a power-only load for 650 miles. It's a team load at $201 a mile. Here is another power-only load. This one's a round trip, 520 on the miles, and that is $1.49 per mile. There is 1144 miles, also a power-only. This is a round trip team for $148 per mile. Here's another 1144 miles for $1.48, round trip teams, and there's a duplicate of that. Here is a power only for 834 miles at $1.94. I'm going to interject that this load isn't doable. If you were to take this load, it's going to impact your performance score. In 10 hours for you to travel 834 miles, you've got to be doing pretty close to 100 miles an hour when you consider you're going to have to drop and hook on both ends. And so here's 798 on the miles. Again, 10 hours. So there's some issue with these loads. And again, people will book them and it'll impact their performance score. For $1.94 a mile, there's 798 miles, another power only. Yeah, they got their times all wrong on these. For $1.66 a mile, there's another 936 on the miles, 937, my apologies. And see how this one's, a day and 13 hours. That's more on par with what it should be. It's a trailer required for $208 per mile. Here is 798 miles, again in 10 hours, power only. Not really sure what's going on with them in that particular market. $1.38 per mile. There's 383 miles. They're giving you 22 hours to do this on a power only, 204 per mile. There's another power only, 789 miles for $1.42. There's another 834 miles for power only at $1.38. There's 194 miles. They're calling it a cube truck. What they probably mean is a box truck for $1.69 per mile. Here's another one, 223 on the miles for $1.68 per mile. There's a 26-foot box truck, 213 per mile at $1.66 per mile. There's 179, holy cow, did I get that bad? 798 miles for $1.38 per mile. And again, they got the timing wrong on it. It looks like all of them do. 834 miles, power only for $1.38 per mile. There's another box truck, 194 miles at $1.63. There's 798 miles for $1.45, power only. There's 834 on the miles for $1.38, and we're into Saturday now, so the market is a little thin because Friday ends here, and so the rest of this is basically weekend and beyond, which A means it's going to be cheaper, and B, it kind of means there's not a whole lot between here and then. I'm scratching off my list, guys, making sure I'm covering everything that we had in here. All right, so I didn't fit it in the list. What I usually do is put it on this list so that it's easily available to me and I don't have to spend a whole lot of time typing them. But I got a couple more that are written down. All right, so sorry for the next interruption. We're moving on to Denver. Someone requested the Denver area. I could have sworn we just covered it recently, but like I said, we haven't been organizing the videos very well, so it's hard for me to say, hey, check this one out. Anyway, so Denver is notorious for having good paying loads going there, but then not so much coming out. It's kind of why I never took a load there from another market when I was with Amazon. If you do power only, that takes you there and back, it's not so bad. Anyway, so here is a round trip tour, Teams, 5,700 miles at $1.29 per mile. There's a 306 mile trip for a box truck at $1.74 per mile. There's another box truck for $2.76 at $1.90 per mile. There's another box truck at 319 miles for $1.69 per mile. Another box truck load for $2.66 at $1.87 per mile. This one is a power only load, 1,000 miles to Southern California. It's a Teams load for $1.70 per mile. This is another power only load heading to Washington, 1,100 miles for $1.79 per mile. This is a power only load, 1,000 miles for $1.79 per mile. Here is a round trip tour, Teams load, 4,300 miles for $1.30 per mile. There's 561 miles, power only. It's a round trip, $1.70 per mile. Here you have another round trip, power only, 1,100 miles for $1.60 per mile. There's 561 miles, power only. It's a round trip for $1.70 per mile. Here's 1,443 miles. It's a Teams load, one way, heading to Jefferson, Georgia for $1.90 a mile. There's 1,200 miles, power only, Teams load for $1.39. There's 789 miles for $1.59 per mile, heading to Henderson, Nevada. There's another power only load for 1,200 miles at $1.69 a mile. There's 1,025 miles power only for $1.50 per mile. 754 miles. This is a power only heading to Vegas for $1.60 a mile. There's 1,030 miles heading to Southern California, power only for $1.50 a mile. Your guys' power only market's really bad. There's 1,000 mile power only heading to Ontario for $1.50 a mile. There's 790 miles heading to basically Vegas for $1.60 a mile. There's 319 miles for a box truck at $1.39 a mile. There's another box truck, 300 miles at $1.45 a mile. Another box truck, 276 miles for $1.58. There's a 1,000 mile power only load for $1.50. There's a 754 mile power only for $1.60. You guys see why I never went up there? There's no loads where you require your own trailer. It's all power only and very, very cheap. So there's 1,030 miles power only for $1.50 a mile. There's 790 miles power only for $1.60 a mile. There's 1,000 miles power only for $1.50 a mile. There is a box truck for 266 miles at $160 per mile. There's a power only. This is a round trip tour with a team, 4,300 miles at $1.58 per mile. There's 991 miles, a one-way power only to Southern California for $1.59 a mile. I wouldn't touch any of these loads, guys. There's 1,000-mile power only load heading to Washington for $1.49. There's 1,100 miles power only, also heading to Washington for $1.49. There's one going to Southern California, 1,000 miles for $1.50. 790 miles heading to Nevada for $1.60. There's a power only 1,000 miles heading to Southern California for $1.50. There's 1,000 miles also heading to Southern California for $1,050. Another one to Southern California for $1.50. And another one. There's a round trip tour teams 4,300 miles for $1.58. There's another power only. This one's going to Phoenix teams for $1.43 a mile. There's another power only 1,100 miles heading to Washington for $1.49 a mile. There's 1,100 miles heading to Southern California, teams load for $1.60. There's 1,400 miles power only heading to Jefferson, Georgia. How's that only 1,400 miles? I'd have to look at that on the map. $1.70 a mile. There's 1,100 miles heading to San Bernardino. That's $1.60 a mile. 1,200 miles power only heading to Vacaville. It's a teams load for $1.69 a mile. There's 991 miles heading to Southern California for $1.59 a mile. There's 1,100 miles heading to Washington for $1.49. And I think you guys get the idea. It's cheap in your market. There isn't a single load I would consider here. And so Nashville. If you're in Tennessee, honestly, your best market in the whole state of Tennessee is Memphis. Memphis has the inland port because of the river. They have several distribution centers, including some from Amazon. Memphis is your better market in the state. Anyway, so here is a power only 379 miles for $1.88. Here is a round trip tour, 4,500 miles at $1.41 per mile. There's a $1.82 box truck. 182 miles for a box truck at $2.16 per mile. There's another box truck for 146 miles, $219 per mile. Another box truck at 169 miles for $216 per mile. 182 box truck for $210 a mile. There's a round trip tour, 5,100 miles, power only for $136 per mile. There is 645 miles. It's a one-way heading to Kansas for $190 per mile. There's 1,600 miles trailer required heading to Utah, $170 per mile. There's 1,697 on the miles. Trailer required, $170, also heading to Utah. There's 851 miles heading to Brookshire, Texas, $189 per mile. There's 1,725 miles heading to Phoenix, $170 per mile. There's 5,400 miles on a power-only teams round trip, $1.30 a mile. There's 620 miles trailer required, $1.80 heading to Kansas. There's 1,842 miles heading to Henderson, which is basically Vegas, for $1.70 a mile. There's 1,842 miles trailer required, also heading to Vegas, $1.70. Here's a round trip tour, 4,500 miles, $1.30 a mile. There's 157 miles for a box truck at $1.85 per mile. There's 124 miles for a box truck at $2.04 a mile. There's another box truck at 228 miles for $1.42 a mile. There's 4,500 miles at $1.54. This is a round trip tour. Here's another round trip tour, 4,100 miles at $1.72 per mile. Same thing for $164 per mile. Here's a trailer required heading to Phoenix at $149 per mile. There's 725 miles heading to Florida for $161 per mile. There's 3,400 miles power only at $190 per mile. This one is a round trip teams. Another round trip team for 3,900 miles. It's 4,000 basically, for $176 per mile. Here's a one-way teams load, 566 miles, $142 per mile. There's 1,832 miles on a power-only round-trip tour at $1.80 per mile. Here's a block at $2,000 for a what they call a solo 2. It's basically 2 days worth of work. At least the blocks are coming up. I'll give it that. There's another block for $199. I'm sorry, $19.99. Another block for $19.99. There's a 2,400 mile round trip tour for $206. There's a box truck, $183 on the miles for $166, and that's putting us into Saturday, which, as you can see, even the blocks are going down. It doesn't make much sense for us to look much further than that, guys. The market gets real thin on the weekends, on top of the fact that everything's cheaper. Anyways, so I think that wraps up this week's list. I hope I covered everyone. Coming up next, I'll be kind of going through some of the comments and answering questions and that kind of thing. As always, if this is where you're going to jump off, thanks for watching. All right, and so this is the commentary section. basically the last part of the video. I think going forward, this is how we're going to try and format them. Let me know, you guys, if you think this is a bit more organized and makes it easier for you. Some of you may not have any interest whatsoever in this part, and so, there's no sense in dragging it out till the end and mixing up the videos. So, at the very top here, thanks to all the new subscribers. Michael Kazazu, I'm going to say I pronounced that right, maybe? I probably got it wrong. Sean, Antonio, thanks, guys. Appreciate the new subscribers, followers. Kumar, de nada, amigo. That's what we're here for. Para eso estamos, like they say in Spanish. I just did Nashville on the whole market, not just the box trucks. Good luck. Hopefully that works. That's my buddy, the flight instructor. Amazon in Denver. I just did Denver for you. Dark Horse. I never thought 2290s were complicated. You just got to make sure you pick the right year. I think IFTA is more of a pain in the rear side, but I think they're both things that you do once and then you got it figured out. And yeah, as far as the consulting part goes, we'll see. No one's directly hit me up yet. I know it's a matter of timing. It doesn't make sense to pay someone a consulting fee if you're, still kind of months away. But Arvin, thanks for the subscription, buddy. Great video, box trucks. We're doing Amazon. Oh, I think I get what you're asking here. I'll see if I can find a link to those particular guys. They seem to be making some pretty good revenue. And I think they, in one of their videos, said they got accepted to Amazon. But they haven't taken any. And honestly, guys, I think you can get much better money for your work somewhere else. The lady, thanks for the subscription. Hazleton, PA. I just did a different market in PA. I'll get this on the next one. Sorry I missed you there. I agree there are a lot of new people jumping into the 26-foot box market. It's easy to get into. If you run a non-CDL chassis like an F650, you don't need a CDL, you don't need IFTA, you don't need apportion tags, you don't need a CDL, and it's easy to jump in and roll. We just got to hope these people take it seriously and take safety seriously. Unfortunately, when people don't, and they're a first-year authority, those are the people that when they get into an accident contribute to that statistic that make the insurances go up so bad. Jerome, yeah, I can check out your DOT number, no problem. But honestly, if you go to the Safer Web site on the FMCSA, if you just do a search for Safer Web, you can see your own. As long as it does not say you're revoked, suspended, or otherwise unsatisfactory, where it says rating. If it says not rated or your rating is satisfactory, Amazon will accept you. The other guy that I follow quite a bit, Trucking Topics Today, he did a video like a week or two ago explaining to people that some of his subscribers are having a problem with getting approved if their authority is like under a month old, because apparently the company they're using to verify this for some reason wants it to be a month old. If you want to message me, I put, where you asked this question, I put my email address down there, I believe. So if you want to send it to me, I can look at it. But like I say, as long as it doesn't say that you're not satisfactory or that you've been otherwise revoked or suspended, you should be fine. I preach every day, Daryl. I try to. Victor, de nada, brother. Okay, if you're leaving a job where you got 40 hours plus 20 hours OT, and this is like a regular thing, you really want to consider is the revenue generated worth the risk? And there's a lot of risk. There's a risk, you know, to you physically. You're in the truck, you're driving all hours of the night, you know, you can hurt yourself, and you're going to leave a job that probably has workman's comp insurance, whereas most people, when they jump into business for themselves, don't usually get occupational insurance, and sometimes they don't have insurance at all. So consider that. Consider the stability of a check. And then most importantly, consider the liabilities that come at you directly. You know, not only do you get into an accident, but, you know, tax liabilities. A lot of people jump into this, start to struggle, and they consume all the money in the bank, and then they start getting the tax bills, you know, the next year, and they're not ready for them. And so consider what your risk versus reward will be. If you're getting, you know, 60 hours a week, you know, you're working as much as you would work as a driver, although as a driver you can put in 70 hours in the truck. So consider you may go from 60 to 70 hours, and is the additional money, or is it even going to be additional money? If you're doing a box truck, I honestly don't think you're going to have more money, unless you diversify yourself and do other clients. That's just kind of my feeling. Kansas, I just did in this video. Hope that works for you. I just did Massachusetts as well. You're welcome. Ricky, so you have more experience than most. If we're talking about the, what's it called? What I haven't done for Amazon, I haven't done the blocks, and I haven't done the box truck. And so if you have experience with them, you know more than I do. I just point out the logic behind the numbers, but I don't have experience with those two items. I'm not going to, you know, lie and misrepresent that to people and say I've done it and it's a loser, because I haven't done it. I'm just looking at the math from a business owner perspective. And so, Calvin, would I consider going back to the oil field? The biggest issue with oil field is, you know, my company had direct master service agreements with oil producers. I was not there as a third-party contractor or leased on to another company. And so I'm required to have much higher insurance coverages. We're required to have $1 million commercial auto. If we're doing rig moves, you need 500,000 in cargo. You need $1 million in pollution because we were transporting the fluids. You need long-term legal liability, $1 million. You need contractors liability because we were doing other work other than just trucking. We need $1 million workman's comp. We need a $2 million general liability policy. We need a $5 million umbrella. And so the problem for me to go back to oil field right now is my last auditable year. In other words, the last year that I completed the whole policy was in 2019. And I want to say we still did like $6 million in 2019. And so all of their numbers for a new policy would be based on that, instead of issuing me a policy based on I'm starting over with a truck or two. So I'd have to pay like 20 to 30 grand in insurance per month. So that would make it cost prohibitive unless I could put 10 trucks to work immediately. But that in and of itself is expensive to do. I need to go register 10 trucks at once. I need to go insure 10 trucks at once, go fuel 10 trucks at once, put 10 drivers to work all in one shot. And, you know, we had built up to where we were, but gradually over time, we started with 2 and then added and added and added. This business is very difficult to jump in and hit the ground running. And so short term, I think I'm going to continue to expand on the over the road stuff. If I get the opportunity to do something else, in oil field, I might consider it. Working as a third party contractor, or maybe just do something not trucking related. Welding, welding pipelines, building batteries, um, contract pumpers, those kinds of things you can get into much cheaper. I might consider that, but it's up in the air. Um, oh, yeah, Delaware. Brother, I kept skipping you. I apologize. I got you in this video, though. I did. I promise. Let's see. Seattle, I believe I just did that one. And James, you're welcome. Is it okay to start off with a day cab? You can. There are people that are doing it. It will kind of limit you on your work because, of course, if you take something that goes further and you need to stay somewhere, it's going to be tough to sleep in the day cab, or you're going to have to get a hotel room. Um, but the short, if you're in a good market that has a lot of short hauls, I don't see why not. If you check out Trucking Style Sean, he is an Amazon contractor that's tendered in. In other words, he's got what some people call an incumbent account. And so he has dedicated lanes. He knows what his routes are. So he actually purchased himself a 2-axle day cab. And by 2-axle, I mean there's only one drive axle plus the steer axle. And his truck is powered by an M11. And according to him, he's getting just about 10 miles to the gallon. And so it is doable. It is doable. I got that one covered already. I did Louisville. I put my email on a couple of videos already. And yeah, some of the questions are going to be silly, but it is what it is. And I think that kind of catches me up on the comments. I'm not really sure how I'm hating on Jeff. Jeff pays his bill, and I take the loads I want, but it is what it is. Anyways, as always, guys, thanks for watching. I know this video is going to be longer than most, but I think if we, in the future, break them down this way where you guys can jump in and see just the part you want, that should work out a little bit better and be a little bit more organized. Again, as always, thanks for watching.